the first chapter, first verse. All right, it says, now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of the wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came to the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left and her 2 sons. So they came into the land of Moab because of a famine. All right, ended up her husband died. She's left widow. Now she has 2 sons. All right, it says verse 4. And they took them wives of the woman of Moab, and the name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth, and they dwelt there about 10 years. I know we went over it last week. Just a real quick recap. Why did they end up taking heathen wives? Why was that, brothers? Why were they able to take heathen wives? What was going on? Not sure. Okay. Okay. Not sure. Watch this. Judges chapter 21, verse 25. Yeah, exactly. Vernon, no king. This is the precept. Okay, all praises. Bazi, all praises. Hey, Shalom, Mosiah, Christ bless. Judges 21 and 25. Go ahead and type that, Brother Benaiah. Okay. It says, in those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. So it's the time period. There was no king, nobody to answer to. So that's what was going on. Who said that? War. Somebody said something about war. Okay, Benaiah said war. Precept for that is Deuteronomy 21 and 10. Going into the law on if we had a war, and we were there for a while. I'll read that really quick. Deuteronomy 21 and 10. When thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and the Lord thy God have delivered them into thine hands, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among captives a beautiful woman, and hast a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to wife. Then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails, and she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off of her. She shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that thou shalt go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. All right, so that's the law. If we were in war for an extended period of time, the Most High God put that in place for that time period. But in this time period, there was no king, so that's what was going on. Let's go back to the book of Ruth, chapter 1, verse 5. Ruth, chapter 1, verse 5. It says, and Mahlon and Chilion died also, both of them, and the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. So her 2 sons died, and her husband passed away. Verse 6. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab. So she's left with Orpah and Ruth. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard the country of Moab, how that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. All right, meaning she's going to go back to Jerusalem because there's no longer a famine. All right. Verse 7. Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went on the way to return unto the land of Judah. And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, Go return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you as ye have dealt with the dead and with me. So she understands that's not her people. She understood that. So she said, go back to the land of Moab. Go back with your family. Verse 9. The Lord grant you that ye may find rest, each of you, in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and went. Verse 10. And they said unto her, surely we will return with thee unto thy people. So they said, no, we want to go with you. All right, they want to go to Jerusalem. Verse 11. And Naomi said, turn again, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? So she's saying, I don't have any more children. All right, all of them died in the land of Moab. Verse 12. Turn again, my daughters, go your way, for I am too old to have an husband. If I should say, I have hope, if I should have an husband also tonight, and should also bear sons, would ye tarry for them till they were grown? Would ye stay for them from having husbands? Nay, my daughters, for it grieveth me much for your sakes, that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me. So she's saying, hey, I've been through a lot, through this short span here. Hey, let's depart ways and just keep it moving. All right, verse 14. It says, and they lifted up their voice and wept again, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her. So Orpah, she's coming to to ends with it. She's understanding what's going on. But Ruth clave unto the mother-in-law. She said, nah, I'm going with you. Verse 15, and she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone to her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. So what's key about that, brothers? What's key? Because I know there's a doctrine they say that Ruth is an Israelite. So what's going on right here, brothers? What's going on? What does that mean? Soldiers is a car. I mean, you said it. I just want to hear like something more. Ruth is going back to her people. Yeah, exactly. It's easy. She's a Moabite. She's not an Israelite. That's showing you what she said. Very key. Verse 15 is the cut. It says, and she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back to her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. Let's go to the book of Psalms. Was that 96? Watch this. Psalms 96 and 5. They are not Israel. They're Moabites. It's very simple. You just got to read. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 96, verse 5. It says, for all the gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. So this is showing what? It says, go back into her own people and to her God. So when she went back, she fell back into what they do. They worship their idols. All right. Like, what was that? The Asians, Buddha. The Asians over there worshiping that big statue. Ezekiel, just to show you that the Moabites are Asians. Go to the book of Ezekiel 25 and verse 9. Just to show you that the Moabites are Asians. I forgot this precept last week, but I ended up finding it. But let's go there real quick. This is the book of Ezekiel chapter 25, verse 9. It says, therefore, behold, I will open the side of Moab from the cities, from his cities which are on his frontiers, the glory of the country, Beth Jeshimoth, Baal-meon, and Carithaim. All right, so it said he's going to open his cities because originally the ancient Moabites, they wasn't in Asia at that time. ancient. They were close to Israel. So he says right here in this prophecy, he's going to open the side of Moab. Verse 10. It says, unto the men of the east. So what's going to happen? They're going to go further east of Israel. As you know, on a map, the further east you go, you're going to fall into where? You're going to fall into Asia. It says, unto the men of the east with the Ammonites, which are who? The so-called Japanese today. And will give them in possession, that the Ammonites may not be remembered among the nations. All right, so they're going to outnumber them. All right, so showing what? They're going to migrate further east, and that's what we know today as Asia. We know China. It's the biggest country, one of the biggest countries. All right, so put that precept down. That's how we explain who the Moabites and the Ammonites are today. That's their land. Let's go back to the verse. What was that? Ruth chapter 1 verse 15. All right, Ruth chapter 1 verse 15. It says, and she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. Verse 16. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God, my God. So she's doing nothing but what's going to happen when Christ comes back. They're going to cleave unto us. Just like when we got out of the wilderness. They cleave to us. That doesn't mean they're our people. They just cleaving to us. All right, verse 17. Where thou diest, will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also. If aught but death part thee and me. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. So she's like, all right, whatever. This Moabite don't want to leave me alone. All right, you can cling to me. It's all good. All right, verse 19. So they too went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass, when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them. And they said, is this Naomi? So they haven't seen her in years. So it's like, wow, I'm happy to see you. I can't believe it's you. Verse 20. And she said unto them, call me not Naomi, call me Mary, for the Almighty have dealt very bitterly with me. How did she deal bitterly? How did the Most High so-called deal bitterly with her brothers? What happened? Was she referring to? Right, and her husband, exactly, and her husband. Verse 21. I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call me Naomi, saying the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me? So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab. And they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest. Chapter 2, verse 1. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. All right, I just want to see who studies. What is so key about this? Boaz. If you could kind of foretell what's going to happen, since you know the lineage and the history. Who is Boaz? Right. The forefather of David. So what's so key? What's so key about Ruth and Boaz? I know I'm jumping ahead, but just once. This brother Elijah, man. This brother don't be getting to the point, man. What else, brother? I'm talking about something very key about our history, our lineage, how all of us got here. All right. Somebody very famous came out of the lineage. Who can help us out? Right, there you go. That's all I wanted. So, real quick, just jumping. I know I'm jumping the gun. It's all good. Matthew chapter 1 and 5, I believe. That's what I want. Matthew chapter 1, verse 5. It says, and Salmon begot Boaz says Booz, but it's talking about Boaz of Rechab. And Boaz begot Obed of Ruth, and Obed begot Jesse. And you already know, from the root of Jesse, that's David's father, and out of the seed of David came Christ. So that's the lineage. You got, Salmon begot Boaz and Rechab, and Boaz begot Obed of Ruth. So they are going to fall in love, like the brother said, and have a child, and Obed begot Jesse. Yeah, it is a heathen, but hey, that's how the Most High God decided to bring forth Christ. Think about today. A lot of the prophets, even in IUIC, they have heathen mothers. It happens, but because the Most High God wanted it to happen. All right? And this is great history for a reason, because when you got all those doctrines for gospel of the world, heathens can be grafted in. No, they cannot be grafted in. You have to understand that they play their role. And as we're going to read about Ruth, she knew she wasn't an Israelite, nor was she treated like one. She just had, mercy, because she knew who she was. She just like the Canaanite woman during the time of Christ. She's going to humble down to who she is and play her part. All right. So the Most High God allowed it to happen so we could have a book called Ruth to show, no, she's not an Israelite. She just understood who she was, and she played her part. All right. Let's go back to the book of Ruth, chapter 2 and verse 1. Ruth, chapter 2, verse 1. It says, and Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. And Ruth, the Moabitess, said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him, in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. That's just like today, man. These heathens, they love the black man. All right. That's the same thing that just happened right there. All these heathens, they want a piece of the Israelite man. All right. So she seen him after she already had a husband that died. Okay, I want him. All right. So that's just how it goes. All right. She said she want to find grace. So she want to do what? She want to soften up his heart. So he takes her. All right, verse 3, it says, and she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and her hat was too light on a part of the field, belonging unto Boaz, who was of the kindred of Elimelech. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem, and said unto the reapers, the Lord be with you. And they answered with him, the Lord bless thee. Then said Boaz unto his servant that was set over the reapers, whose damsel is this? And the servant that was set over the reapers answered and said, it is the Moabitish damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country. So now he's inquiring about her. Verse 7, it says, and she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came and hath continued even from the morning until now, that she tarried a little in the house. So she's playing a part. She's a servant. All right. She's working in the field. She's a servant. All right. Verse 8. Then said Boaz unto Ruth, hearest thou not, my daughter? Go not to glean in another field, neither go from hence. Bide here fast by my maidens. So who has the precept to show? That the heathens are supposed to be our servants or our handmaids? Who has that? Because she's just doing nothing but, playing her part, knowing her place. Exactly. Let's read that real quick. This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 25, and verse 44. It says, both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. All right. So this is doing nothing more than supporting, what the Most High God spoke through the prophet Moses. All right. Let's go back. Let's go back to Ruth chapter 2, verse 9. Ruth chapter 2 and verse 9. All right. It says, let thine eyes be on the field that they do reap, and go thou after them. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee? And when thou art athirst, go unto the tools and drink of that which the young men have drawn. But he's showing favor unto her because he likes her. Verse 10. Then she fell on her face and bowed herself to the ground and said unto him, why have I found grace in thine eyes, that thou shouldest take knowledge of me, seeing that I am a stranger? I see that. Yeah, see that she acknowledged. She's like, wow, this is a son of God, but he's taking knowledge of me. I'm a stranger. I'm not of the Israelites. Yeah, see that, right? All right. Verse 11. It says, and Boaz answered and said unto her, it hath fully been shown me all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of thine husband, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother and the land of thy nativity, her nation, where she's from, her nationality, and art come unto a people which thou knewest not heretofore. The Lord recompense thy work, and a full reward be given thee of the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings thou art come to trust. All right, so showing this is an act of God. All right, he understood it. All right, verse 13. Then she said, let me find favor in thy sight, my Lord, for that thou hast comforted me, and for that thou hast spoken friendly to thine handmaid, though not like unto one of thine handmaidens. And Boaz said unto her, at mealtime come thou hither and eat of the bread, and dip thy morsel in the vinegar. And she sat beside the reapers, and he reached her parched corn, and she did eat, and was sufficed and left. And when she was risen up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, let her glean even among the sheaves, and reproach her not. So, according to the law, we could rule the heathen with rigor. We just couldn't rule our people with rigor. So they say, hey, he said, call it off. All right, treat her good. All right, don't treat her like a normal heathen. Verse 16. And let fall also some of the handfuls of purpose for her, and leave them, that she may glean them, and rebuke her not. Verse 17. So she gleaned in the field until even, and beat out that she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. And she took it up, and went into the city, and her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned. And she brought forth and gave to her that she had reserved after she was sufficed. So she brought back what she, worked on that day back to the mother-in-law, what she was living with. Verse 19. And her mother-in-law said unto her, where hast thou gleaned today? And where wroughtest thou? Blessed be he that did take knowledge of thee. And she showed her mother-in-law with whom she had wrought, and said, the man's name with whom I wrought today is Boaz. And Naomi said unto her daughter-in-law, blessed be he of the Lord, who have not left off his kindness to the living and the dead. And Naomi said unto her, the man is near unto us, one of our next kinsmen. So she's saying that's one of my cousins. Verse 21. And Ruth the Moabitess said, he said unto me also, thou shalt keep my fast by my young men until they have ended all my harvest. She's letting her know, hey, Boaz invited me back. He wants me to work here. Verse 22. And Naomi said unto Ruth, her daughter-in-law, it is good, my daughter, that thou go out with his maidens, that they meet thee not in any other. So she kept fast by the maidens of Boaz to glean unto the end of barley harvest and of wheat harvest, and dwelt with her mother-in-law. Chapter 3, verse 1. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said unto her, My daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with thee? And now is not Boaz of our kindred, with whose maidens thou wast? Behold, he winnoweth barley tonight in the threshing floor. Wash thyself therefore, and anoint thee, and put thy raiment upon thee, and get thee down to the floor. But make not thyself known unto the man until he shall have done eating and drinking. So she's saying, all right, go get dolled up. All right, start look good for him. All right, don't bring attention to yourself so he can notice you. All right, verse 4. And it shall be, when she lieth down, that thou shalt mark the place where he shall lie. And thou shalt go in, and uncover his feet, and lay thee down. And he will tell thee what thou shalt do. And she said unto her, All that thou sayest unto me, I will do. So y'all got to see how Ruth rolled. She was very obedient. She was submissive. All right, she knew her place. She was not professing to be an Israelite. She knew better. All right, so all those other doctrines, all you got to do is just read the scriptures. All that's not true. Ruth is a Moabite that knew her place as a servant unto the Israelites. Just very humble. Let's go back. Ruth chapter 3, verse 6. And she went down unto the floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her. When Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of corn. And she came softly and uncovered his feet, and laid her down. And it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid, and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. And he said, Who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth, thine handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thine handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman. And he said, Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast shown more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, inasmuch as thou followest not young men, whether poor or rich. So this is an act of gratitude by Ruth. All right, she's just submitting to Boaz. Verse 11. And now, my daughter, fear not. I will do to thee all that thou requirest. For all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman. Verse 12. And now it is true that I am thy near kinsman. Howbeit, there is a kinsman nearer than I. Tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning, that if he will perform unto thee the part of a kinsman, well, let him do the kinsman part. But if he will not do the part of a kinsman to thee, then will I do the part of a kinsman to thee, as the Lord liveth. Lie down until the morning. What does he mean by do the part of the kinsman? What is that talking about? What is that talking about? Can you elaborate? Right. Exactly. That's the part of a kinsman. That's what's going on. All right. So that's what Ruth was trying to do. She's like, hey, your kinsman died. All right. So you got to go into me. She understood that. Because why? Naomi taught her. All right. This is Deuteronomy 25:5. This is the law. And this is why they keep repeating the same thing over and over, because of this law. Deuteronomy 25 and verse 5. It says, if brethren dwell together and one of them die, so these are the kinsmen, and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her and take her to him to wife, and perform the duty of an husband's brother unto her. All right. So that's the duty of the kinsman right there. So make sure y'all precept that. Let's go back. This is Ruth chapter 1 verse 14. Ruth chapter 1 verse 14. I'm sorry, 3 verse 14. Thank you, bro. It says, and she lay at his feet until the morning, And she rose up before one could know another. And he said, let it not be known that a woman came into the floor. Also, he said, bring the veil that thou hast upon thee, and hold it. And when she held it, he measured 6 measures of barley, and laid it on her. And she went into the city. And when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, who art thou, my daughter? And she told her all that the man had done to her. And she said, these 6 measures of barley gave he me, for he said to me, go not empty unto thy mother-in-law. So he's, showing love to his family. Then said she, sit still, my daughter, until thou know how the matter will fall. For the man will not be in rest until he have finished the thing this day. Chapter 4, verse 1. Then went Boaz up to the and sat him down there. And behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, ho, such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. Verse 2. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city, and said, sit ye down there. And they sat down. And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land which was our brother Elimelech's. And I thought to advertise thee, saying, buy it before the inhabitants, and before the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know, for there is none to redeem it beside thee, and I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. Then said Boaz, what thou buyest, verse 5. Then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. So he said, if you do that, you must take Ruth as your wife. All right, verse 6. And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. So he's saying he can't do it. Verse 7. Now this was the manner in former time in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing. For to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Israel. Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe, and Boaz said unto the elders and all the people, ye are witnesses this day, that I have bought all that was Elimelech, and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife. All right, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place. Ye are witnesses this day. And all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses, the Lord make the woman that is come into thine house like Rachel and like Leah, which two build the house of Israel, and do thou worthily Ephratah, and to be famous in Bethlehem. So that's why she was treated like this, because they understood the role that Ruth was playing. All right, verse 12. And let thy house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in to her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. And the woman said unto Naomi, blessed be the Lord, which hath not left thee this without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Israel. And he shall be unto thee a restorer of life, and a nourisher of thine old age. For thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, hath borne him. And Naomi took the child and laid it on her bosom, and became to nurse it. And the woman, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, there is a son born to Naomi. And they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. Now, these are the generations of Perez. Perez begot Hezron. Hezron begot Ram. Ram begot Aminadab. Aminadab begot Nahshon. And Nahshon begot Salmon. And Salmon begot Boaz. Boaz begot Obed. And Obed begot Jesse. And Jesse begot David. All right. All praise to the Most High. That's good history right there. The book of Ruth. The Lord's will, y'all got some understanding today. I'm just going to post the email if y'all have any questions or concerns. Lord's will, we'll be back at it next Friday, Lord willing. All right. Okay. All right, family. Most High in Christ bless you all. All right, shalom.